service today. We're going to show you a video to officially kick things off. So sit back and relax. If you have any prayer concerns that you would like us to include, please put them in the chat so that we can include them later when we do our affirmative prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment. All right, folks, it's time for our video. So sit back, relax, and we're so glad that you joined us here today. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be a service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly. And so it is. And so it is. So before our meditation today, I would like to introduce you to our guest speaker. If you're a regular at CSL, you know Melinda. You've heard her before. If you're new to CSL Leesburg, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a ministerial student. She is a religious science practitioner, an international intuitive coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, a speaker, a teacher, and to wrap it all up, this lady is very busy and she is always welcome at CSL Leesburg. We always enjoy whenever she joins us. So thank you for joining us, Melinda. We're giving Charlene, our regular spiritual director, a day off, but we love when we have our guest speakers. All right, now let's go into our meditation. So Melinda and I had a quick discussion. We both had a meditation plan for today, and I decided let's give her just a little time to collect her thoughts before she is our speaker. But we were on the same wavelength, and today's topic, and the topic for the month of April, is vulnerability. So today I chose the younger self meditation. So this will be a guided meditation as I take you back to have a conversation with your younger self. All right, let's begin by just relaxing, settling back in your chair. Maybe shrug your shoulders a little bit. Take a deep breath. We just quiet our minds as we prepare to travel in this meditation today. So as I said, in this meditation, we're going to go back to your younger self. And I want you to close your eyes And just travel back in time and go back to a part of your younger self, a part of your childhood, your teenage years, your young adult years, wherever you feel that you need to go, because you're going to have a conversation with your younger self. Are you a small child? Is there a message that you want to pass on to that small child who's feeling very vulnerable, needs a message of support or love? Was it your tumultuous teenage years? Are you traveling back to those years? They're so confusing. You're trying to figure out who you are and why you're here and what you're going to do in life. Or is it as you were first kind of leaving the nest, your early adult years? But pick a time and try to visualize yourself. Visualize yourself. What did you look like at that time? What did you look like at that age? And really try to go back to a time where you need to hear some guidance, some advice, some loving words of support from your older, wiser self. Just go back and just picture that younger self. Maybe there's a favorite photograph of yourself that helps you connect to that younger self. Maybe really you're standing in front of your younger self. You travel back in time for a purpose. What do you want to say to this younger self? What does he or she need to hear from you? You picked a time in your life when you were feeling very vulnerable. You needed guidance. You needed some coaching. You needed to hear it's going to be okay. Maybe those are the words that you're going to use. What do you have to tell your younger self? Take a moment, and I'm going to get quiet, and I want you to share a message with your younger self. Going for you. Now, you travel back in time to your younger self. What does your younger self want to say to you? What message does your younger self want to say? Keep going. Believe in me. You can do it. I'm counting on you. I'm going to stay quiet and let your younger self share a message with you now, the older, wiser you. What does your younger self want to say? I hope you've received a really good message. All right, that's our meditation for today. And remember, as always, these meditations are something that we do together. But now that you've done this with a group, you can always do this on your own whenever you need to have a conversation with your younger self, whenever your younger self needs to get through and give you some words of guidance and support. You can do this. So now rejoin us. We have some music waiting for us. And let's turn it over to our music with Leah.
This old world may be sleeping, but we have been dreaming, dreaming of a brighter day. Some of us keeping our minds on the reason. Beautiful season is coming our way. Today could be the day. Hey, little flower, you've got the power to push through green blankets. You're ready to grow. Hey there, sweet bluebird, tell me what you heard. I want to sing that great song that you know. Wake from your slumber and try to remember a time when we all were together as one. A new day is coming, yes, there will be sunshine. Wipe away teardrops, springtime will come. It's been so lonely, but that was only our chance to realize the love that we need. Come take my hand now, let's make a plan how to stay wide awake. Let's fly you and me away. Wake from your slumber and try to remember a time when we all were together as one. A new day has come, tell me you feel the sun. Wipe away teardrops, springtime has come. I'm wide awake now.
That was amazing. I don't know if you can see me yet, though. Not yet. Okay. It's always such an honor to listen to Leah, and her message is just so incredible. Welcome, 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 everybody. So good. Good morning, CSL Leesburg. Happy April 2nd. Spring is on its way. And this month, we're exploring the power of vulnerability. And just right now, with that word, let's just take a collective breath, shall we? I don't know about you, but when I hear that word vulnerable or vulnerability, my body clenches up a little bit. So over the course of this month, we're going to define what it is. We're going to get clarity about what it is and why it's so important. We'll also talk about what gets in our way of being vulnerable and steps that we can courageously take to move into being more vulnerable in our lives. And I want to let you in on a little secret just straight out of the gate. Vulnerability is the key ingredient in our own personal transformation, because it creates an expanded awareness of what lies just below the surface for ourselves as individuals and for ourselves as a community. So from this view, we see how it is a building block for a healthy and thriving community. And then we'll end the month with a focus on how we can harness the power of vulnerability in living a life that is full of possibility, a life that is lived out loud. So today, we're going to start this journey towards greater understanding of the power of vulnerability by defining what it is and what it isn't and why it's so important. And what you will find for yourself in your own time is that vulnerability is the crucial starting point for authenticity and connection. And isn't that what we're here for, is for connection to ourselves, to source, to the people around us, right? Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, says, every one of us has in the back of us the potential of the universe. There is an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. If we listen, we shall hear it, not as a voice, but as a feeling, as a divine urge to express. So what Ernest is wanting us to realize is that spirit pressing behind us wants to express itself. It can't help itself. And it continues to find unique portals to move itself through. And you are one of those portals. And it wants to express through you in the wonderful, unique way that only you can express. And when we limit or we're unable to express ourselves fully, the effects of that are far-reaching, not just within our own being, but our relationships and also our community. And let's face it, there are places in our world that often seek to contain or suppress our true expression, right? We can acknowledge that. So vulnerability then becomes an integral piece in actualizing the spirit within. Vulnerability is what brings that expression of spirit forward. And the willingness it takes to risk authentic living. Although doing so may open us up to challenges along the way, sure, but it also, when we're vulnerable, it leads us to the very outpicturing of the irresistible potential within us all. Spirit cannot help itself. It wants to express through you. So let's start at the beginning. Let's define it. What is it? The beginning of this path towards an expanded understanding of vulnerability, it's important to start with a definition. And this provides not only a point of reference, but a sense of clarity that will guide us through this entire conversation this whole month. So I'm going to start our definition with what vulnerability is not. We're pretty good about defining things based on what it's not. And I do this today to alleviate concern, worry, tension that might be showing up, because vulnerability is tender and it's the entirety of our month's talk. So what it's not, vulnerability is not oversharing. It's not dumping inappropriate amounts of emotion or personal info with wild abandon, with no filters. It's not that. And it is not being vulnerable for the sake of saying, hey, look at me, I'm being all vulnerable over here, I'm sharing my stuff. It's not that. The tone and the motive of vulnerability, in the sense that we're highlighting this month, is one that is born from a desire to fully express oneself for the purpose of authenticity and connection. For the purpose of authenticity and connection, we're doing it for a reason. So to be vulnerable is not to be without boundaries. And it's certainly not for you to be a doormat. Vulnerability actually demands that we probably boundary up a little more. It's not a weakness. It's instead, it's a conscious choice to express your thoughts, your feelings, and desires in a way that serves to nurture an authentic life, to nurture deep connection with source, with yourself and others. So it's not that big oversharing. It's not weakness. These are not what it is. So if that's not, then what is? Brene Brown, who's a researcher and professor of social work at the University of Houston, defines vulnerability as a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and be loved. So I'm going to go back over that again. We're opening ourselves, we're exposing ourselves emotionally. And that comes with uncertainty. We don't know how it's going to unfold. And so the person that's willing to be vulnerable, it comes with a willingness to accept the outcome of that risk. So Brené's saying that vulnerability is a state of being where we are opening our deeper self to the light. And as we do that, there is a risk of uncertain outcome. And we don't know how the person or persons on the other side of the conversation are going to receive our deeper truth and our more authentic self. There's the risk. So to be vulnerable is to explore the depths of ourselves and others, even when we are unsure of what we might uncover and what might ripple out as an effect of our sharing. It is stepping out, whether literally or metaphorically, often in the face of that uncertainty of fear, for the purpose of fostering a fuller expression of ourselves and others. So we're doing it for a reason. We're doing it to bring our more authentic self forward. The universe is pressing behind us, wanting to express itself. We're creating that space for spirit to speak through us. And we're doing this for connection. And we've all had the moments, I'm just going to go through a few of them. Different ways that we can be vulnerable is taking a chance that might lead to rejection, asking someone out, asking for someone to consider your goods, your skill set. Hey, I've got a skill set. Are you interested? Talking about our mistakes. That's a little challenging. Feeling difficult feelings in my practice. That's a bulk of what I do is I help people learn how to be present to those more difficult emotions. And being honest about our boundaries and expectations can be very vulnerable as well. So if it comes with such great risk, if it comes with that uncertain outcome, why would we do this? Because vulnerability becomes the necessary action for both self-expression and connection. It is the necessary action in order for us to express ourselves authentically and to have connection. So I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to demonstrate this. So remember, when someone's being vulnerable, they're taking a risk. So I'm going to share a little story. I have this little pleasure. I'm not even going to call it a guilty pleasure because I'm not going to make myself wrong for it. I have this little pleasure where I like to watch reality TV, and I'll explain later why that is. There is this show called Love is Blind. Don't judge. And the premise of the show is that people are coming on the show to meet a person, but they do it in a different way. They don't get to see each other. They talk to each other through this wall, but they never see the physical person. They don't talk about their features, their race, and all of that. They don't talk about that. They find true, authentic connection. So this one participant came out of the gate the first day, and he was using humor as a defense. How many of us have done that before? Yeah. It's too scary. It's too tender to be vulnerable. So we're going to hide behind humor. And it had a very opposite reaction. People were very repelled from his sharing in that way. And he came off very superficial. The next day, he realized the error of his ways and he chose to be vulnerable. And through that sharing, what happened was miraculous. I felt my heart open. I could see the person that was hearing him, her heart opened because he shared about himself in a way that said, I'm taking a risk. I want you to know me. Here's my truth of my childhood, how I was raised. And he had a lot of shame about it. And the interesting thing is I felt pulled in to him through that sharing. And the person on the other side of the wall did as well. And so it was just a beautiful example of the power of vulnerability, drawing people in, wanting to know more. And I don't want you to think or feel tricked into that being vulnerable is easy. It's a challenge. It takes willingness. It takes courage. Nor do I want you to discount the fact that there are individual and societal influences that do create barriers for us to be vulnerable. I think we get to practice a lot of discernment as we are putting vulnerability into practice in our lives. And the adventure is to begin the conversation, right? Understanding that the willingness to engage in the exploration of your own authenticity, it invites others to do the same, just like in that sharing about the person on the show. Vulnerability calls us to create safe spaces, safe communities, and safe relationships in which vulnerability can thrive and grow. It has to be safe. We're not going to share if we are ultimately repeatedly being judged or criticized or rejected. So it creates safety. So in this offering, we create the container for the transformative effects of vulnerability. I want you to hear that again. I love that phrase. Vulnerability allows us to create a container where transformation occurs. It becomes the starting point of authenticity and connection to ourselves, to spirit, to the world around us. It calls us to bring our own unique expression to life while extending the same invitation to others. And so authenticity and meaningful connection are born out of vulnerability. These are the side effects. These are the benefits of it. This is why we do it. It allows us to build trust and intimacy and relationship. It allows us to foster empathy and understanding and compassion. It allows us to increase our own self-worth and build relationships with those who serve to support and love us. It allows us to work together in partnership and in community, to work through and process difficult feelings and emotions. And it increases our self-awareness and accountability and opens us up to the possibility of growth and transformation. Remember, it's not weakness. It's not about showing up and being seen, even in the face. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It is about showing up. It is about being seen, even in the face of our own fear and our own shame. So the call is to begin to examine areas in our lives where we have been resistant for whatever reason to being vulnerable. Areas where we're hustling for our own worthiness. And that's created a chasm between who we are on the inside and who we project ourselves to be on the outside. So one more vulnerable share. I love and I pride myself on my authenticity and being unique. But the truth is, I wasn't actually being vulnerable. I wasn't showing my true self because I was afraid I'd be judged, ridiculed, wronged, ultimately rejected. Last year, through one of my ministerial classes, I stumbled upon an interesting little test. And, we all love those little personality tests that tell us who we are and help us appreciate the benefits, the gifts, the uniqueness of who we are. And so one of these tests, I took it and it said clearly and loudly that I have autism. Imagine the shock and surprise. And actually, it didn't surprise me because it actually made things make a lot of sense. But it took me down a rabbit hole, and I found another test about masking. And masking is something that we all do, but it's specifically talked about in the world of autism as hiding all the autistic traits. So I took that test about masking, and on a scale of 25 to 175, I scored a 169. I was devastated to think that I had hidden my true nature so
Yeah, but nobody asked.
readily. Oh, I'm How about now? Can you hear me? Perfect. Where do I need to go back to? Did you get the 169?
You had just
Okay.
given the score. Yes.
Okay. So 169. And so that was a devastating thing for me because I thought I was being so authentic. What I realized was I had created a really beautiful image of what I thought the world wanted to see rather than who I really am. We all do this. We all project who we think the world wants us to be. We hide ourselves. We don't allow that vulnerability to come through. I want to share one last story before we finish. And a couple of weekends ago, I was over at the Gaia Conference Center, and they were doing a weekend immersion conference. And the very last speaker is a channel named Bashar. Bashar was talking about how we are not supposed to be homogenized. We're not supposed to be the same. We are unique. We are individual. He compared us to puzzle pieces. And if we hide our authentic nature, if we don't allow that vulnerability to be present, we actually begin to shift and change our unique puzzle piece to the point where it won't fit in. That was such an important piece for me to hear, especially bringing my true authentic self forward more fully as I am. So the adventure is gaining clarity and awareness of our own connection with spirit, with ourselves, and how this connection fuels our connection and our authenticity with ourselves and with others. And so I invite you this week to gently explore, where might you be hiding? Where might you be masking a part of yourself or shaming it away or feeling some fear about the uncertainty of your sharing? And I invite you to take gentle, well-calculated risks to begin to bring that truer nature out for yourself and for others. So with that, let's just close and we'll go into our affirmative prayer. And so just closing your eyes if that is comfortable to you, and going within, for everything we need is within. For that divine presence is pressing and wanting to move through us. And the more awareness we have of that infinite all, that is love, that is wisdom, that is the life itself, that we are that focal point, that we are one with that, then we begin to know our true self. And so I just recognize that the tender places that we hold in our humanity are infused and being held and living a life in the sacred, that we are like fish in water. We, in our humanity, are swimming in spirit, in that immense power, that love that is all things. And what I know to be true is that as we step into our vulnerability, as we step into embrace ourselves, that we offer spirit more space to be more fully present within ourselves, to come forward and speak its truth through us, as us, for us, and always around us. And so I am so grateful for this time. I am so grateful for the spiritual community. It is truly my home away from home. And what a gift it is to be able to share this time, to share this message, and to collectively come into embracing ourselves as an expression of the divine in all our unique ways. How blessed are we for this day, for these lives, for these bodies, for the service that we get to bring forward onto the planet. I am so grateful. I just release this into that infinite receptive law that only knows to say yes, yes, and yes. I release it, letting it go, knowing it's already done. And together we affirm by saying, and so it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melinda. That was just the perfect message that we all need to hear today.
Thank you.
I am thinking that we have some music now by Leah, and here she is.
I see you, I hear you, I feel you. And though I can't claim to understand, I can stand still and reach out my hand and try to feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I see you. I feel the tears fall from the same source as my own. What a mystery. And though I can't claim to understand, I am listening. I can stand silent and reach out heart to the words of your song. I see you. I see you. I hear you. I feel you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. You know, it all comes together, folks. You would think we coordinate all this. The image of Leah talking to herself in the mirror. I'm seeing Melinda nod her head. I mean, I was just overcome. I see you. I hear you talking to our vulnerable self and reaching out and taking those moments when you're in a safe place to share your vulnerability with others. Oh my gosh, so powerful. Well, folks, now is the time that we bless our donations that are shared with CSL. We believe in the law of circulation, as you heard in our opening video. So we are a tithing community. We know that as we give, we receive. The donations that are shared with our center bless everyone, those who give and those who receive, because our donation goes to help support our center, our home organization, and other organizations locally and globally that support our vision of helping to create a world that works for everyone. So look at our screen. Odds are you've seen this before, and something even tells me that you've already found a way that works for you. If not, take another look at the screen. It's so easy to find a way that you can make your donation. Start here and go and spread out and go further and further and further. We thank you so much for your support. And no matter how you are giving, just take it either physically or in your mind and put it over your heart. And join me as we say our affirmation of oneness and our blessing of our gifts. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. I love saying that every Sunday with you. Those words have so much power. All right, folks. Whoa. Let's do our announcements and let's start with our dream study. So, dream study on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. You can join Charlene and her friends. And boy, you want to talk about vulnerability? When we're dreaming, our subconscious is working. And sometimes you wake up from a dream and you think, where did that come from? Well, join Charlene and her friends on Tuesdays, and they'll help you interpret your dream. We're always getting messages, and sometimes we need someone to help us interpret those messages and say, oh, no, look here. Do you see why that appeared in your dreams? So that's what's happening on Tuesday mornings at Charlene. And we have some classes coming up in May. So just a little teaser. We'll have some slides on that in the near future for you. But just want you to know that we got something that Charlene and I are cooking up. We got a couple classes that we're going to be offering. All right, folks, it is time. We're going to do our closing affirmation. And if you can stay and hang out with us, please do. We do something called Pearls, where we talk about the parts of the service, the parts of the music, the parts of meditation that really just resonated with you. We call them Pearls because they're like jewels. They're just precious little moments. And we kind of hang out. This is our virtual coffee hour. So if you can stay, please stay with us, either on Zoom or on Facebook. And if you can't, then just know that after our closing affirmation, we're going to send you off with love and our blessings. So please join me. Put your hands over your heart. And just think about that authentic self that sometimes is very vulnerable. Sometimes you have to keep it safe. Sometimes you're willing to share with others. Just give yourself a hug and join me in saying, I am love.
I am love.
Thanks for turning on your mics. You know, I love to hear that. And now point at someone who's in the room with you, or send it out to someone on the screen or someone that you know needs this message. You are love. You are love. Love it. Oh my gosh. Now put your hands up in the air and remember it's all love. We're going to do our love sprinkles. Here we go. It's all love. Thank you again so much for joining us. Hang out with us if you can stay. And if not, we are sending you off with love and blessings. Enjoy your day.